about today's session. This is Michelle Gines with Let's Connect. And you know, anytime you see me come on here, you've got to make sure to subscribe, hit the button below. And if you haven't already done so, hit the bell so that anytime we get a new video, you will be the first to know. Well, you know how I do. Every time I get somebody in the room, in the Zoom room with me, it's somebody amazing. And today is absolutely no doubt this gal has got it. So I have with me today Susan Mintz. Susan, how are you?
I'm incredible. I'm living in Boca, the high life.
Living the high life. I love it. Susan, I am so glad that you have the time to be able to meet with me on today. And you have done some dynamic things. We met, 5 years ago?
Yeah.
Years ago with your book, Committed to Love, followed right up behind, and they held their hands with the hospice heart. So Susan, talk a little bit before I get nuts, because I'm just ready to start zooming into this interview, but I've got to let people know who you are. So first, Susan, because I don't want to, I want to make sure that I give you your appropriate just due. Tell people who you are. Tell them a little bit about you.
Well, I am Susan Mintz, 75 years young. I live in Boca, Florida. Purpose Publishing just came along because I loved the name and she had a purpose. My book is called Committed to Love, and it's my story about my deceased husband who passed in '94 from AIDS. And I knew then that I had a purpose. And my purpose was to take my 15 documented journals that I did from 1992 to 1994 when he was ill. I documented them. They had to sit a while before they were transposed. Then I transposed them into this book. And then it took a while to find the right publisher and self-publish. And I knew it was meant to be. And I'm an author. I am still a publisher. And I've done editing, and I've done waitressing, and I've done hair and makeup and dental hygiene. And God, I got so many hats on my head.
And cookbooks?
And cookbooks. I got a whole series of cookbooks, Cooking with Yeshua, that are sitting in a drawer, 7 of them that are all biblically based. And I can't afford to publish all 7, but a great publisher could come along who really wanted to do 7 biblically based cookbooks. And so I got about 13 books tucked away in my belt, under my belt, and I'm just a writer, but I got nothing to write about right now. So I'm sending books out to people, and my Committed to Love story, I'm out, and I'm doing vision boards, and I've always got something though to do, because God is a God that never stops.
He does.
That's what I love, is that you may take a little break and you may have to reassess yourself or reevaluate where you're going. But truly, at some point, you'll always come back to the purpose that God gave you.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And 20, all these years later, my purpose is still to get my story to the right person at this point who wants to make it into a series, a Netflix series that can go and touch relationships, that can keep HIV, but it might not even be HIV. It could be Alzheimer's or cancer. I'm a relationship person, and that's what my book is mostly about. It's relationships and how you can make them work or you can walk away from them. But when you know you're supposed to be in one, you do what you got to do. And that's my life was about with Jeffrey. Yeah.
You know what, Susan, your story, and I want you to share a little bit of your story, just for those who who don't have the book. Yeah, you can go to www.susanmintz.com. Her email address is right there, or not email address, but her website is right here below. Look her up, get a copy of the book. Susan, tell people a little bit, give them a synopsis, the premise of the book that you're anticipating being turned into a Netflix docuseries. Share a little bit about this story.
I met Dr. Jeffrey Mintz, who was just little Jeffrey Mintz, in Troy, New York, when we were 11 years old. And the 700 Club captured it. That's on the website. If anybody wants to go to the website, susanmintz.com, you can click on the 700 Club link. They came to Boca and did a full feature. And when they put it together, they captured the entire essence of my life with Jeff. And you know, it was the 60s, and it was sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and he was my best friend. And even though we both were promiscuous with others and all that, and one night we got drunk and, well, I got pregnant, and a week later we got married, and then a week later I had lost the baby, and 4 months later he tells me he thinks he might be gay. And we looked at each other and we were up and down and fought and back and forth. And my life was the most incredible 25 years with this man. I mean, I loved him. I still do. That's why I keep focused. But I was married to a bisexual man. And in 1981, Dr. Jeffrey Mintz, I had to look at him when he walked through the door in our home in Houston. Very successful man. And I loved my lifestyle, as difficult as it was. But he gave me what I wanted. I had security. I had my best friend. I had the fun, the travel, the adventure. And then in between, it was hell. But in 1981, when I heard about AIDS on TV and the gay man's disease, I looked at Jeffrey when he came in and I told him, have you heard about it? And he said, yes. And we lived in an area where it was a very gay area, very artistic area, and it was phenomenal. And I knew then that, Jeffrey, I love you. And if you want to get out and have an affair and do what you want, you can, but I'm never going to leave you. But we'll have to have an abstinent sexual relationship because you've given me every other STD, which was taken care of, but I will not get something that might kill me. But I will love you. And that's how it worked until our neighborhood was dying. I knew what was going to happen. He was still doing what he was doing. And he was in denial most of his life about this because he had me. He had the strength. He had the rock. I was a great cook. I was gorgeous. He was handsome. We looked like the perfect couple who had the dark secret. So in the late 80s, he wouldn't get tested at all. He would never want to know. But I could see in 1990, 91, and we'd moved to Boca in 85, and he was still traveling. We were traveling, but I could see in the early 90s, 91, he was beginning to show symptoms. His skin, his hair, his breathing changed, his appetite changed. And on June 19th, 1992, the doctor came to the house and said that he had full-blown pneumonia related to AIDS. And I put him in the hospital the next day fighting for his life. The book depicts all 24 chapters of my life with him, from childhood through our marriage and through documenting his illness. Because when he was diagnosed and put in the hospital on the 20th, fighting for his life, I had to tell his parents. I had to tell people. The whole book is about issues.
Yeah.
It's got 24 issues, from frustration to fear to faith. It's all documented for anybody to see that they know that no matter what you're going through, you can do it if I could, because I'm no different than you. But I took care of him. He had 3 bouts of pneumonia. And on the 3rd bout, he was home and he looked at me. One thing about HIV now is, of course, there's medications, which are great, but they didn't have them back then. And also, when you're gravely ill, as he was in 1992, 93, it was different. You come back a little bit, but you never get back. And you do all the things you do, but they didn't have any of the meds. And I don't even know if he would have taken him, because Jeff couldn't have lived like that. He was a true adventurer. You know, I don't know if he could have lived that way, or we would have, but it was, you can't say way, maybe because he's gone and things have changed. But my book is about relationships, issues you face in your relationship. Everybody's going to face them. My cross to bear and carry is HIV, and to tell a story about love and hope and to help relationships. But I was just a little girl who fell in love with a man, got him through his schooling and did everything. And I was there every moment and documented in my 15 journals, every moment of my day with him. I wouldn't go to bed until that day was documented. And we had the best insurance, the best doctors. We had the best of everything.
Yeah.
We had money, we had time, absolutely the best, but I lost. And to this day, I know my story is going to be made into that movie, because relationships are still valuable. And you'll go through something in your life that will test your faith. It will test you, and you might walk. But that's why I
Yeah.
think a lot of people do drugs and do alcohol, or they do all the addictions that are out there now. And
Mhm.
also, I want to bring the awareness back to the stigma of
Yeah.
HIV, which I talk about a lot. The stigma
Yeah.
that exists, and the stigma is because it's a sexually transmitted disease yet. So the stigma is a horrible thing that many people with HIV carry.
Yeah.
And, now there's long-term survivor groups, and it's so different. But my cross is to talk about the relationship I had with this wonderful man who died way too soon in a really crazy marriage, but it was mine.
It was. You know what, Susan? It's so unconventional, and just like you said, things have changed now. And the things that were that are completely public and everything now, public resources, and everything now we talk about it. Where back then it wasn't a lot of that happening. But I love how not only have you encapsulated the story in the pages of a book, but there's been so many other things that you have done in addition. You were telling me about, the work that you do at the clinic with the toothbrushes, that you do. Talk about that a little bit, because, even in, how I've heard the cliche, and it's not, sometimes your misery becomes your ministry, right? Have you ever heard that?
Of course. Your pain becomes your purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. So talk a little bit about what you have done even since, what you're still doing now. What are some of those things you're doing?
And I will say, though, that I listen to God in the quiet. There's no kids, there's no family. My world is very, very controlled and very silent. So I hear clear messages from God. And the other book, just to mention, is And I Held Their Hands with a Hospice Heart. There's 24 stories. I don't know why 24 is so important to me, but that I always write in 24s. And it's 24 chapters of people I met in hospice when I was volunteering there for 6 years. And it could be nurses or patients or people I met on an airplane. But And I Held Their Hands with a Hospice Heart is the companion book to my book, because it fills in why I was able to relate at hospice to so many of the people, because I'd gone through the issues that they were facing. So it was a very rewarding time, and the books are really good together. But all of a sudden,
let me say this about that companion book. So she's got two books. One is her story, her and Jeff. And then the second book is what she did after, because Susan, these were patients and people that you met even after Jeff was gone.
A year after I volunteered at hospice, and I just started documenting these incredible people over the 6 years I met, and put them together in the book. It was phenomenal. Nice. Yeah, they're great together. The covers were gorgeous.
Yes, they are.
Gorgeous and done, and we did it together, my friend. But a couple of years ago, I had a dream, and I heard God very distinctly say that I was a dental hygienist for 20 years, and I knew that oral health was extremely important to anybody going through any kind of an illness, whether even when you're healthy. And I heard him say, total health begins with oral health. And I woke up and I said, total health begins with oral health. And I said, oh my goodness. So I called my dear friend, Rob Scott, at the health department in Palm Beach County. I said, Rob, God's talking to me again. And he went, oh no, what are we doing now? He's been with me forever. He knows all the mail. He knows everything. And so I said, yeah, God's talking to me now and telling me total health begins with oral health. He said, well, what do you want to do with it? I said, I don't know yet. Let me just deal with it. A couple of days later, it was about toothbrushes. God told me to buy battery operated toothbrushes, spin brushes, and give them to dental patients when they would come in, because the Palm Beach County Health Department, their dental health division, only services HIV positive patients. So this is in 2019. And so I said, Rob, I got to buy battery operated toothbrushes, and we have to buy them and give them to the dental department. And as they come in for their cleaning, the first time they come in for their dental checkup and their cleaning, they're going to get a toothbrush. Well, next thing you know, they were doing bookmarkers and they did an interview, and the bookmarker says, it's on my website. There's a bookmarker that says total health begins with oral health, and it shows a tooth, it shows the toothbrushes. And I've probably done several hundred by now. They used to run 5 and they've gone up to 6 to 7, but I don't care. I just write Rob checks and he takes care of it. But yeah, they give them out. So we've given out hundreds and hundreds in the last 2 years. Of course, COVID kind of stopped it, but we're back up again to 40 a month or 30 a month. So I'm again, total health begins with oral health. The interviews, everything's on my website. Everything is there. The 700 Club interview, the books under books icon, media, the total health interviews, everything's there. But that's really where I'm coming from. And now the vision boards to get books out, sending books out to the media, to Netflix, to Vox Media, to anchors. There's always something you can do when you know you have that purpose.
Absolutely.
Never stop. Never stop.
Yeah, let us just say, let me give that website. It's www.susanmintz.com. It's right there in the link. You guys can go there, check out all of the media that she has. This woman has been doing ministry for years, and this has been to the HIV and AIDS community, those individuals that may be suffering from the disease. She has not stopped, nonstop. She has been going, and I just love her. Susan, if you had, because we are coming up on the end of our time, I swear the time goes by way too quickly. But before I let you get out of here, I want you to share, always ask, give me one thing that the best piece of advice you could give any married couple, you're the relationships lady. So, what would be your best piece of advice before we close the interview today that you would share?
Yeah. And Jeffrey was a doctor, psychologist, and marriage and family and drugs and alcohol was his forte. And he always said, and I would say this to people, never get a divorce when you're upset.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're angry, you're totally emotional. But if you are okay and you know you're okay with it and you're calm or you talk, you're all right. And I'm not saying that you get divorced when you're calm, but I'm saying in anything, don't do it when your emotions are taking over. So don't do something serious like walk out on a relationship when you're angry.
Yeah, no, that's good. Susan, I love spending time with you. This has been a great session. You guys, let's connect with Michelle Gines, Purpose Publishing. I love these interviews. This has been the Susan Mintz. You can find her at www.susanmintz.com. If you are one who does Netflix videos, works with somebody, knows somebody that is looking an amazing, unconventional love and marriage story. No, don't give up no matter what. Hey, be committed to love. This story is unlike anything I've seen. I'm telling you, it would be an amazing story. So,
but you did the covers. You did so much of it. I mean, the first time you showed me the cover, I knew it was right. Every book that I sell goes through you. There's the connection that you and I have had. And it's been a blessing. So buy lots of books to help Michelle stay in business because she is the best publisher in the world.
Oh, thank you for that, Susan. You're such a sweetheart. Well, guys, this is the end of our show for today. I want to thank you for tuning in, and don't forget to make sure that you subscribe, like, share, and post this video and share this interview with others that you might know. And if you haven't already, click the bell so that anytime we do a new video, you will be the first to be notified. And as always, thank you so much for tuning in, and I love you, and I'll see you next time.